there, this is Ascended Glitch Cat with another Saving Paldea video. I'm giving my own take on how Pokemon Scarlet and Violet would play out if certain technical fails were acknowledged and dealt with in the plot. Today we're looking at what would happen if Team Star faced off against the Titans instead of just Arvid and Juliana, but we'll also be making a few glitches canon while we're at it. In my last video, I theorized that Aerie and Mela could deal with the lurking Steel Titan easily enough, but what about Ortega and Penny challenging the False Dragon Titan? Yes, he knows who she is here. It sounds simple enough at first, but there's one big disadvantage. Namely, I don't think they'd have nearly so easy a time getting there. Especially if they're setting off from the Rakaba base in the mountains, where any sort of creepy things could happen to reach the lake. Penny won't make much conversation as they start the journey. She may worry at first that Ortega will take her silence as brooding, but she'll soon discover that the time they've spent together virtually as Team Star hasn't gone to waste. He understands that she'll never be a chatterbox, and he doesn't push her. In fact, he seems content to enjoy the quiet alongside her, at least until his pocket buzzes twice in a row. He checks and rolls his eyes. Family stuff. Penny shudders with the chill and holds her Sprigatito rescue a little closer. The Pokemon mews and leaps onto her shoulder. From there, it claws at her jacket, undoing the zipper enough to crawl inside. Hey! Penny objects, but Sprigatito has already made itself at home and isn't coming out. Penny's jacket now has a large bulge that makes it look like she's trying to smuggle an encyclopedia from the library to the mountaintops. Guess it is getting cold out here by your standards, she says with a sigh. Then she turns her attention over to Ortega's screen, where he's reviewing 2 recent texts from his sister. Hey, Orty, still looking for the key to that old lab? 'Cause I think it's in the summer house. Can meet you up there and say, 2 hours. Okay, bye. Thought Orty was our nickname for you, Penny says to Ortega. And you never mentioned you have a summer house. My parents have a summer house, Ortega says. And a spring house and a winter house. They're like a couple of confused sawsbuck. He shoves the phone away. It fits perfectly into the side pocket of his lavender fur-lined coat. My sister overheard the team's nickname for me once, and she hasn't stopped using it since. It hacks me off, and she knows it. Penny nods and drops the matter. Ortega's only mentioned his sister 1 or 2 times, and he ignores whenever someone brings her up in conversation. Or when they mention anyone in his family, really. Penny can only hope he doesn't shift the topic to her own parents. Certain things are far too frustrating to have a civil conversation about. The path before them narrows, with walls of ice rising up on either side. With no good way around, Penny urges her Cyclozar forward, and Ortega follows. Her teeth chatter despite the extra layers of clothing she's worn to protect herself and Sprigatito from the mountain's chill. And she usually has such a high cold tolerance, too. Wait a second. She straightens as Cyclozar slows its pace. Her body keeps shivering, but it doesn't feel all that cold. But what else would cause her to react this way? They've gotten about halfway through the icy passageway now. She stares up at the mass of ice surrounding them and gets her answer. Is that... Ortega points. Ominous black orbs protrude from the nearest section of wall. As the 2 travelers near them, the orbs extrude a purple fog, and a pair of leering eyes appears on each one. Ghastly, Penny whispers. Yeah, Ortega replies, but why are they here? Penny has no answer other than to keep moving. The Ghastly seem to be partially embedded in the ice. She worries if maybe they've gotten themselves stuck there, though how such a thing is possible for a ghost type she has no idea. With each one they pass, the Pokemon's eyes follow their every movement. Penny can't shake the uneasy image of being filmed by a haunted camera right before her death. Maybe we should turn around, she says. Or at least try a different path. I know my way through these mountains, Ortega says, pushing his Cyclozar ahead of hers. Didn't say you don't, Penny mutters as she follows. She might have guessed he'd respond like that. Ortega has always been sensitive about corrections. He worries about the others looking down on him, not trusting his judgment because he's the youngest. Of course, he's only the youngest by a few months, but the trouble is, half the freshman class looks older than him. Mela doesn't help matters either. She spent most of her birthday bragging about her quinceañera status and reminding Ortega how he's the only boss still stuck at a lowly 14 years of age. Ortega's insecurity makes redirecting him much more difficult, and Penny would argue that right now they need a serious change of direction. The ice walls part up ahead and several more Ghastly float in the distance, waiting and watching them. The path splits at the exit, and they can take the longer, sunnier route to the left, where the ghost Pokemon are less likely to follow. Ortega, seeming to sense where Penny wants to go, urges his Cyclizar towards the right. "Hold on," Penny whispers. "I told you," Ortega hisses back. "I know what I'm—" He turns at the icy corner and runs smack into a Ghastly hovering just out of sight. The battle itself shouldn't be a problem, but whether it's the Pokemon or the location or simply evidence of Paldea's weak grip on reality, something dire happens in the moment Ortega and the ghost type meet. The two combatants stand at an angle on a small hill, the Ghastly farther below. The moment the battle starts, a deep crack snaps through the mountain path with the sound and force of a cannon. The ground beneath them shifts abruptly upwards. The earth breaks open, but instead of facing a chasm of darkness, Penny stares at a reflection of the sky. Then she and Ortega fall towards the mirrored clouds. Mounds of snow follow, showering them. Penny screams. Both Cyclizar retreat to their Pokeballs while Sprigatito digs its claws through Penny's sweatshirt. She cradles the tiny Pokemon under her jacket and braces herself for the worst. Meanwhile, Nimona is trying to keep the peace between Juliana and Arvin while the trio is en route to the Glaciato gym. Arvin appreciates the attempt, but he also can't blame Juliana for being annoyed. He has been acting pretty weird lately. So it goes when friends keep secrets from each other. "Don't worry, he's always kind of kept to himself. It's not us," Nimona assures Juliana as the two ride together on Koraidon. "I was the one who gave him the introductory tour of Naranja Academy last year, and he acted the same way." "Wait, really?" Juliana asks. She nudges Koraidon to slow down, and the brute walks around some boulders in the snowy path, setting up for a clearer line of sight. Nimona nods. "Of course, I wasn't the school council president yet, just an overeager freshman trying to help out, but since Arvin joined the term a month late, I already knew my way around." Arvin flushes as Nimona's Cyclizar, which he's riding solo, dutifully follows its trainer. He only enrolled late because the paperwork was confusing and he missed the original deadline. Thankfully, the director made an exception given his home circumstances. Still embarrassing, though. "You know, now that I think about it, I saw some weird stuff that day for the first time at school. See, we were about to walk up to the main building, and I did my classic, get ready to climb the worst staircase in the world!" She motions to Arvin. "He was standing on the first step waiting for me to get on with it, so I went to bolt past him. Only I ran through the stairs instead. Like they weren't even there!" Arvin remembers that, but the way she set it up made him think vanishing into the staircase was some gimmicky part of the tour. He didn't get how it was done exactly, but he'd guessed a ghost-type Pokemon could pull it off. Apparently not. "It freaked me out, but then nothing happened for months after that, so I thought everything was fine," Nimona continues. "But hey, enough weird talk. Let's keep going. This way!" She points and Koraidon gives a roar before bolting forward at full speed. Cyclizar follows without any need for Arvin to signal it, which is good because his mind really isn't on directions. Did he somehow cause that incident with the stairs? How long has Paldea been having problems like this? A month or two tops? Or what if it's been more than that? He does not want to think about the ramifications, but as they fly down the slick, icy road, his mind won't let the idea rest. He hopes he's reading too much into things. If he did have some hand in the stair incident, though, could he have caused any other strange occurrences? Like that time Juliana went giant at Team Star's base? Arvin swallows. He doesn't have the constitution to weather Juliana's wrath if that's the case. No living human does. The trio soon reaches the crest of a snowy hill. It's a tight squeeze with less than ideal standing space, but the view is breathtaking. Dusk has fallen and the town of Glaciato sparkles far below. The gym is the tallest building, a soft pillar of white light among the smaller houses and shops. Several markers break up the path leading down, probably related to the gym test in some way. The air is thin and the clouds hang low. A few flurries begin to fall, but nothing concerning. If anything, they accent the picturesque snowscape. Arvin goes to readjust his pack, which messes up the balance of Nimona's Cyclizar a bit. It starts to slip, but catches its footing. Then it turns and hisses at Arvin for the inconvenience. Arvin mutters an apology. And Nimona gives him a sympathetic smile. "Don't worry, it's natural for her to be on edge right now. She's more sensitive to the dangers up here than we are." She points to the snowy ground. It might look firm, but this time of year, the snow can pile up quickly. There's lots of spots that are just one badly timed impact away from an avalanche. Really? Juliana asks. Wow. Arvin swallows, wishing Nimona would wait until they reach the bottom of the hill to tell him stuff like this. The elevated view now feels much less beautiful and much more threatening. Before they can start down, Arvin hears a huge crack of thunder. He yelps and turns to see if the girls are okay. His mind can barely process what happens next. Ortega tumbles out of the low-hanging clouds, falling in slow motion right between Juliana and Nimona. His diamond-studded travel bag is shoved into Juliana's face, while his Pokeball staff smacks Nimona in the back of the head. Koraidon screeches its displeasure and rears up, almost throwing all three of its passengers. Arvin is about to dismount and demand answers when something collides with him from behind, knocking the wind out of him. Cyclosar lets out a similar, though less primal cry. Arvin whirls around to find Penny back-to-back with him, curled up and clutching her stomach. Or maybe something under her jacket? Then comes the snow. Not in gusts of gentle flakes, but a straight-up cascade. The clouds sparkle and snow gushes out of them like a busted faucet. Koraidon jumps. All three of the people riding it hold on to each other for dear life. Cyclosar follows suit, barely managing to escape being buried in the sudden rush. Arvin grabs the Pokemon's neck and holds fast. Penny clings to his waist, pressing her chest against his back. "I'm so sorry about this," she cries. "Wait, this is your fault?" Juliana yells. It's the last thing anyone gets to say before the ground begins moving. The Pokemon's quick thinking might have saved them from an icy burial, but now they're effectively surfing atop an avalanche headed right for the Glaciado Gym's battle stage. Arvin grits his teeth, desperate to keep his fear at bay. Otherwise, he's going to find himself short one ride with a heaping helping of Death Wish. The two Pokemon pick up speed, sliding this way and that to stay on top of the shifting rush of snow. Their paths crisscross over and over. It's a miracle they don't collide with each other. The only thought that keeps Arvin grounded is his pure fury at Team Star for whatever they did to start this mess. So he focuses on that, and how, if their ride down the mountainside doesn't kill them all, he's going to use that fancy staff as a murder weapon. So yeah, in a battle of the False Dragon Titan versus Penny and Ortega, the glitches in the Glaciado Mountains win. Looks like it might be up to the other Team Star members to handle this one. Speaking of glitches, I did work more of them into the story this time, so let's break down the ones that showed up. Number 1 is the creepy Ghastly. This is another one of those instances that could be a glitch or programmed into the game, or most likely a mix of both. While Tauros is the Pokemon most well known for chasing down trainers, including a glitch where it can attack you at the Pokemon Center, Ghastly can also be a bit of a stalker. It's more likely than other Pokemon to appear in your face out of nowhere due to its fading idle animation, and it can even creep up on you while you've got the map open. Since it follows more slowly than Tauros, it can take time to realize that you've got one on your back. It's also known for being a night spawn in nearly every game, but here it'll appear in groups at certain locations, adding to the creepy vibe. And sadly, like many Pokemon in this game, it can and does get stuck in walls. Number 2 is Nimona and the Stairs. This glitch was discovered by Kuji on Twitter. See the description for a link to their page. Scarlet and Violet use one running animation regardless of what a character is running on. So climbing stairs is just standard movement with a ramp. The individual steps are purely decorative, as you can see Penny's foot going through here in normal gameplay. But with this glitch, possibly due to a slow frame rate, Nimona's foot somehow bypasses that collision check. The game never registers that her model is interacting with the ramp, and so Nimona continues her running animation on the flat ground beneath. It really is the worst staircase in the world. And finally we have number 3, a split reality. This is a glitch you can encounter when there's a sudden change in the camera angle, which most often would happen at the end of a battle. There'll be a section of surface area that's rendered as something completely different. Either it's water where there wasn't any, or you've suddenly got half the area below the grass filled with sky. And this isn't even the infamous void glitch, which we will get to in another video. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll probably keep the animationless format for now, just so I can make them more regularly. Also, I have been reading these chapters in present tense so far, but they were originally written in past tense, so I might like to return to that. We'll see. Until next time, happy reading and happy training!